Folks, this is Premier Pro Wrestling's Black Wrestlers You Should Know for Black History Month. I'm Randy Ritchie. What is shaking? I think this is a brilliant idea, and I think it's something that really needs to be done. I'm surprised other people aren't hitting them where they ain't. Everybody recognizes Black History Month, but I don't know how heartfelt it is, you know? So today, I'm not going to refer to this man as an unsung hero. He's just a superb, humble man, Memphis wrestling legend, King Cobra. Now, check this out. This guy's got an amazing story. King Cobra, real name is Jimmy Kimball, wanted to be a wrestler. He would have been totally 100% content in going and doing the live wrestling on I want to say Channel 5 we were on in Memphis, Tennessee. But it was much more than that. He went in there, and the way he conducted his business and handled himself, you know, is a lesson that you guys should be taking today, to be honest with you, instead of all this entitlement horse shit. You know? Let's see here. So Jimmy Kimball, King Cobra, is the son of a Mississippi farmer. The thing that's the coolest about King Cobra is I want you guys to hear this. In addition to wrestling, and not just the Memphis area where he was really well known, but wrestling industry period, this guy had a job as a welder that he kept the whole time he was wrestling. He worked as a welder for 55 years, overseeing the container division of Waste Disposal Company's Memphis operation. During that span, the 72-year-old took exactly one sick day, a Monday in 1985, after breaking his right leg, during a match in Huntsville, Alabama 2 nights earlier. I mean, talk about breaking the mold. The balls are just unbelievable. Now, I told you guys before, and you wouldn't know unless you were there, the black Memphis fan, the black Mid-South fan, the black USWA, CWA fan would shit on black wrestlers that were just had one shred of insecurity out there, and that wasn't the case with COBE. And that's what we used to call him, as COBE, C-O-B-E. Just an unbelievable guy. Listen to this here. And this is what I love most about it, and this is what a lesson today should be learned. WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler, himself a Memphian, got his start in the industry not long before Jimmy Kimball, who answered an ad for a wrestling school run by Al the Spider Galento. Lawler said there was a term in the business for people like Kimball/Cobra. Job guys, said Lawler, who worked with Kimball extensively back in the territory days. We wrestled in Memphis on Monday, Louisville on Tuesday, Evansville, Indiana Wednesday, Nashville or Lexington Thursday, Tupelo Friday. Saturday morning was TV and Saturday night was Nashville or Jonesboro. It was impossible for someone to work that schedule and have a 9-to-5 job. We had a ton of those job guys in Memphis back then, but Cobra was different. I mean, he was just better than most. And this is Jerry the King Lawler talking, who, you know, is not an eager guy to put anybody over. So when he says something like that, he fucking means it. Which meant Kimball was the exception to the rule. Now listen to this. Traveling the circuit for years, spending vacations, wrestling overseas in Japan, the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, and other locales, working with such icons as Andre the Giant, the Iron Sheik, Ernie Ladd, and Hulk Hogan, and winning multiple championship belts along the way. A feat, Lawler said, very rarely accomplished by quote-unquote part-time wrestlers. Now listen to Cobra. Remember, folks, he's working a 9 to 5, but not really a 9 to 5, but he's working a job at the same time. How did he do it? I'd get out of work about 3:30, get a shower, change clothes. Somebody would drop me off at the airport in the morning around 7. They'd pick me up at the airport, and I'd go to work, said Kimball, who captured one championship and a win over Lawler in 1990. Houston, Charlotte, Dallas, Miami, all over. Guys that would pick me up, they would say, man, that Jimmy Kimball, he comes to work every day on a 747. Pretty damn cool, man. You know, that who the hell can work like that? 2 jobs. Now, Kimball, Cobra, was born March 14th, 1948. And I'm going to go ahead and call this a career high because it had to be. Remember, I was there. I know how being a black wrestler, being black in the locker room back then, even in 89, was a task. And things still hadn't been, by any stretch of the imagination, in the Mid-South, quote-unquote, woke. December 30th, 1989, King Cobra pinned Jerry the King Lawler for the AWA USWA Unified Belt. Back then, that was huge. And I wasn't there. I'm not sure if this happened when I wasn't there. I'm not sure if this happened after I left. Might have happened right before I got there, now that I think about it. But I wish I could have been there for that. So for me, my personal connection to Cobra is this. Yes, I would see him in locker rooms, and he was an old-timer that wasn't, I was going to say, unapproachable. Now I understand why he would give you a nod instead of just, welcome you and be all warm and fuzzy. It was a protection of the business. The dues that this man paid, from jobber to being the unified world champion, going over on Lawler, who beat everybody in the industry. He wasn't an asshole by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, he wasn't unapproachable. But I couldn't get a read on Cobra, and I couldn't ingratiate myself with Cobra at first. And he wasn't the type of guy where I could have gone up to him and done what I did with, like, let's say, a handsome Jimmy Valiant. I didn't want to come across as a nut swinger, because that wasn't real popular either. But one night in the Memphis territory, it was after television, they had booked 2 towns that night. And for whatever reason, I guess the guys knew it from their booking sheet, I had King Cobra in a town in Mississippi. I'm going to go ahead and say, I think it was Jackson, Mississippi. And all the guys were not being jerks or breaking my balls. Guys that were normally jerks to me or half jerks to me because I was green, off and on throughout that week were telling me, oh man, you get to go to school this weekend. You get to work with Cobra. It was really cool because it was one of those rooms or one of those venues where Cobra and I didn't get a chance to talk to each other because we were in separate locker rooms. Now, that being said, it wasn't a common thing to run 2 towns in the same night, and Jerry Jarrett was one that believed that if he had a smaller roster, there would be more money for the individuals because, in fact, we were strategic partners. We got paid based upon the percentage of the gate. So that being said, it was a really small roster, and I had to go out there with King Cobra, who everybody had built up in my head, so I was, nervous. I was nervous about fucking up, and call it on the fly. And this was early on when I was down in Memphis. And now I see I was booked against King Cobra for a reason that night. And then there was going to be the stooge report from Cobra as to how I was in the ring. Luckily, I was good enough. I could listen. And it was one of those matches where I went out there with Cobra and probably did 30 minutes. And I just didn't know what the fuck hit me. But whatever the hell happened, we were over. So I'm always going to be eternally grateful to Jimmy Kimball, Memphis wrestling legend, King Cobra. Again, guys, this is Black Wrestlers You Should Know, honoring Black History Month. There are no commercials or YouTube ads on this, so please notice that. Support Premier Pro Wrestling, Premier Pro Wrestling on Pro Wrestling Tees, and stream exclusive content, the best $6 you're ever going to spend on pro wrestling, Premier Pro Wrestling on Patreon. And while you're here, be cool and like and subscribe.